As a full-time RV digital nomad, I need to have unlimited internet that I can rely on. So I have mine in two different ways. The first is through Starlink, and the second is through AT&T on a mobile router. Today, I'm going to tell you exactly how I easily mount my Starlink outside of my Airstream without having to run the cables inside every time I break camp, and I'm going to tell you how I got unlimited AT&T service on a travel router without a phone plan for less than $100 a month. Happy Sunday, birdwatchers. It's Robin with Creativity RV. I hope you're all doing well out there. Today, I'm going to tell you about these two unlimited internet solutions I have that I started to work on in December when the company that I was working with just went toe up. The company was called Nomad Internet. Now, if you've seen some drama videos about that company, it's true. They, in my opinion, are not reliable anymore. So I stopped using them and I stopped recommending them. The problem was that then I lost my unlimited AT&T service and I had to figure out a way for my Starlink to work better for me. Now, I had Starlink as a backup because there's not AT&T service everywhere or Verizon service. And as you guys know, I create content for YouTube. I also have 4 books and I run 2 websites. And so I had to figure it out. Now, I already had Starlink, but the dish and the tripod mount that came with it were just huge. And when I switched to a 16-foot Airstream, those had to go in the back of my Jeep. And I was tethered to the Starlink because I had to put it on the ground, usually, 70, 80, 90 feet away from my campsite because it was low on the ground and it has to find a signal and it has to be able to get through the trees. And in October, you may have seen a video that I did in Wyoming where I was escorted out of a campground in the middle of the night by police because somebody was shooting a gun in my direction. Now, normally I would leave. I would just start the engine and leave, but I couldn't because my $650 Starlink dish was way out in a clearing connected by a cable to my RV. So I would have driven down the road and just dragged it. I started to think I needed to find a better solution then, and now I have one. So I'm sitting at my computer because I have a whole bunch of screenshots and little videos to show you exactly what I did with the Starlink, and then stay tuned after that for the AT&T information. Now, when you get Starlink, there are 3 main components. There's the dish, the cable, and the router. And the dish and the router have to be connected with a Starlink cable that has a really funky proprietary end on it. So they don't make it easy for us to come up with a solution to run the service in and out of an RV every time we have to break camp. The router has to be inside your rig because it has to be plugged into a power source on a regular 110 outlet. Now, I have seen people just put their Starlink outside and use a power box like a Jackery and have the router outside and the cable outside and the dish outside, but they get stolen and weather turns bad, and I didn't want to do that. So I saw some other people on YouTube that made permanent mounts on their roof, or they made permanent mounts on their ladder in the back, but my Airstream doesn't have that. So I really had to noodle something out that was unusual, and I think I did, and it made it really easy for me, so hopefully it will work for you too. There are 4 things that I had to get to make this possible. The first thing was a Starlink pole adapter. You get that right from Starlink. I think it's $35. So that replaces that tripod mount. So your Starlink goes right onto this adapter. Then I already had an extension pole to put it on. You can find other adapters that go with different size poles, but I already had this one. The third thing that I got was this picnic table flag mount, which I'll show you in just a minute. And the fourth thing, and this is key, is I got a modified Starlink cable on Etsy that turns that weird proprietary cable into an Ethernet cable. A couple of months ago, I had a new power system put in from Battleborn and Dragonfly Energy. I used to have 2 AGM batteries up in the front in the battery compartment that comes standard with Airstreams, but those batteries were removed and my new lithium batteries and the inverter went in the back. And that left my battery compartment open outside. So I decided to store my cables in there. Now, part of those cables that are in there are cables that go to my external solar panels. And you can see here that they run underneath the rig up under my dinette where I have my MPPT controller and I have my DC to DC charger. Well, while I was having that installed, I asked to have my Starlink cable installed that I got off of Etsy. You can see here that the router is now underneath my dinette along with those other controllers, and one side of the cable goes right outside where I can plug it in, and the other one is inside here plugged into the wall, which I can do now because I have an inverter. If I didn't have an inverter, I would be using a solar generator like a Jackery to do that. Here's what the cable looks like that I got off of Etsy for about 300 bucks. Now, I'll tell you, if you're looking for a solution for Starlink in general, Etsy is definitely by far the best resource that I found. In this case, I searched for a modified Starlink cable. So what they do is they buy the Starlink cable, and in a shop, they cut it so that there's a Starlink end on one side of the cable and an Ethernet on the other, and then an Ethernet to a Starlink. So now when I want to hook up my Starlink, all I have to do is plug in an Ethernet cable and pop up the pole. Put it in the stow position, which you can see makes it a little bit easier to put in the back of the car. And I just need to take it off the pole and then unhook it right here. Now, a couple of quick things here. In this picture, you can see that the pipe adapter is on top of the pole and it doesn't quite fit correctly. Starlink will send you these little screws that go in the side of the pipe adapter, and you have to tighten them. And there was just too much space in there. Again, on Etsy, you can get any type of adapter for any type of pole. So you might not have to do this, but I didn't want to buy a new pole. So what I did is I stuck some insulation material up inside of the pole adapter so that when I put on the adapter, it was tight. Now, when I set up camp, all I do is get the Starlink dish permanently on that pole out of the back of my Jeep. It's laid down in there, and I pull it out and I put it inside of this upside down picnic table flagpole mount. Now, it took me forever to figure this out because I needed something that would go on the frame of my trailer. So for me, I turned it upside down, I put it on my A-frame, I tightened it up, and when I set up camp, all I do is put the pole that the Starlink is on in the slot for the flagpole, and I screw it in and tighten it up. That picnic table flagpole mount is not easy to find. I will list it down below along with the pole and everything else at the top of comments and in the description so you can find it. Now, I get a little bit nervous when it gets really windy outside. I do not want to break this Starlink. So if I'm going to be in any kind of wind at all, in addition to securing it on the flagpole mount, I take a nice big zip tie and I also tether it to my trailer hitch. Then when I go to break camp, all I do is go on my phone, tell Starlink to stow, which makes it a little bit flatter to put in the back of the Jeep. I unscrew it from that flagpole mount, I cut the zip tie, and I unplug the Ethernet cable, put it in my car, and I'm good to go. It is so much easier than what I was doing before. Now, you might be asking yourself, if you did all that, why do you need the AT&T router? I'll tell you. Starlink in general is faster than AT&T. If I'm in an area that doesn't have a lot of trees and the weather is good, there are some places where I have no AT&T signal because I'm out in the middle of nowhere, boondocking. So I like to have both because I need to have a backup. My preference would be not to do all the Starlink setup and just have a travel router. This is my unlimited AT&T travel router. It's a Nighthawk. And if you saw the video I did last week for Prime Day, I actually put this up on the ceiling right here. Oh, sorry, wind, you guys. I know I'm shaking. But I also put this on the ceiling in the back by my bed, just depending on where the signal is better. Now, I had a Nighthawk before with AT&T when I had Nomad Internet, and I love it, and here's why. You can charge this and then put it wherever. You can put it up in a window, and it will keep a charge for a few hours without being plugged in via USB. But unlimited AT&T service is really hard to find. And after I had the Nomad Internet problem, I did try a couple of other resellers. I tried a more advanced router, and it all sucked. Every reseller that I went to didn't work, and I didn't want it for myself, and I certainly didn't want to recommend it because I don't recommend anything to you guys unless it works for me, and I've been using it for months. And that is the case with this. It took me forever to figure this out, and it's not going to apply to all of you. So I hope it works for some of you, and sorry for everybody else. You can get unlimited data through your phone if you have an AT&T phone plan, but that only gives you a hotspot. So let me tell you what that is. You turn the hotspot on the phone, and then your laptop or your Fire Stick or your smart TV or your computer will see it as an available source of Wi-Fi. The problem is that they really limit how much they give you. I took a couple of screenshots from AT&T this morning to show you exactly what I'm talking about. You can see here that you can add more hotspot data onto your phone plan, but the best one only gives you 15 gigabytes for $50 a month. And after that, you can buy more, but it is cost prohibitive. It is so expensive. Now, I use almost 400 gigs a month. I do a lot of work online. I'm uploading content and I stream all of my entertainment. 50 gigs does not work for me. I've tried it all. And if you're working on the road like me as an RV Digital Nomad, you might need more than this. You might not. If you don't, then maybe a phone plan with a $50 add-on charge would be fine for you. Now, AT&T has another plan that I found for just hotspot data that you can see here will power like your tablet or your computer. But for $90 a month, they only give you 100 gigabytes. And what I have is unlimited for less than $100 a month. Here's how I got it. To get this plan, you have to go through AT&T Business. You cannot go to AT&T.com and you cannot go to a local store. They will not know what you're talking about and they'll try and sell you something that is not this. Now you can see here that AT&T Business has mobile broadband service and there are a few different tiers. I chose the best one, the fastest one that's unlimited, and it's listed as $95 a month. This mobile broadband service is an add-on for business customers so that if they're out in the field or they're setting up a new business that doesn't have a great connection, they can still have service. It's not really designed with RVers in mind, but you can still get it done, and this is how. The first thing you do is you go to this website, which I will list below, and you call the 800 number and tell them that you want to become an AT&T business customer because you want to get the unlimited mobile broadband service. To do that, they're going to ask you some questions about your business, but you don't need to have a business. You just really have to make some kind of money on a 1099 every year. So if you're doing surveys like out of my book, Work from Home While You Roam, and making $100 a month and you're getting a 1099, you're a business. You are a sole proprietor. And I have been in my life an LLC, I've been an S Corp, and I have been a sole proprietor. Right now with my businesses, I'm a sole proprietor. So when they asked me the questions about my business, I said, been in business for 6 years, I'm a sole proprietor. I gave them my business address, which was my resident address, and they signed me up to be a business customer. I didn't have to buy anything, and I didn't have to be stuck inside of a contract. The first thing that they send you is just to be a business customer. It has nothing to do with the data plan. Just keep that in mind, because when I first got this massive contract that they send over, I was a little freaked out, but I read it very carefully. I think it's fine. Read it for yourself. I became a business customer, and then I could order the unlimited broadband service. So I got this new shiny Nighthawk router that I love through AT&T because they had a promotion, and I looked this morning, they still have it now, that you can get the Nighthawk router for $13 a month, but then they give you the $13 right back off as a promotion if you sign a 3-year contract. Now, I'm not going anywhere, and I'm not going anywhere as a nomad, so I actually want the service for 3 years locked in. You may not. You can bring your own router with you, or you can get one from them. You don't have to sign a contract for 3 years to get it either. You don't even have to sign a contract. I just did it because then, all in with the taxes and everything, my unlimited AT&T service is $90 a month. I'm hoping that I can actually suspend my Starlink service, which you can do, which is one benefit of Starlink, when I head to the East Coast, because I think that the AT&T service is going to be killer there. And then I'm just going to be paying $90 for the data service. Now, I'm sure I'm going to get comments that are like, oh my God, that's so expensive. I would never. Well, look, I'm running a business in here, and this is my job, and it's the cost of doing business for me. So I have to have that so I can get videos out like this one to you guys. You might not need all of that, but if you do, I hope that this video has helped you. If you think this video was helpful to anybody else, please do share it. Subscribe if you haven't already. Give us a thumbs up, and I'll see you guys Wednesday with a special additional video. Until then, Everybody out there, have happy travels, get your internet, and be free.